Welcome to the Matsunoki Cafe. I'm Shiro, the owner. Here we like to talk about video games, anime, or just whatever's considered nerdy or nostalgic that's on our minds. Whether you're new here or a returning customer, why don't you stick around and enjoy the conversation with your cup of joe. With this video, I'd like to formally announce that I've officially made a mistake I'm bound to regret at some point. I started playing a Hoyoverse game. Now, turn back time to 2020. I downloaded Genshin on my PS4 because of the recommendation of a friend, played it for like 20 minutes, then dropped it. The game just wasn't appealing to me in the slightest during that early section. Genshin got labeled upon its release as Anime Breath of the Wild, but Breath of the Wild opened up a lot by the 20-minute mark. There was a lot of fun to be had with all the options available to the player from the starting area alone. By comparison, the amount of player restrictions Genshin has throughout the game, especially in the early portion, feels counterintuitive to it being an open world. So if Genshin didn't appeal to me, why did I pick up Honkai Star Rail? A few reasons. One, I've been in a sci-fi phase lately, so Honkai was up my alley in terms of genre. Two, it's a turn-based RPG. While I do enjoy a good real-time battle system like what you find in Kingdom Hearts, Genshin's rendition of it didn't look fun to me. But I enjoy turn-based combat. I've dabbled in a Persona and a Pokemans from time to time. And recently I also started playing Octopath Traveler 2, and the turn-based system there is a lot of fun. You have to be yeek levels of bad to screw up turn-based combat. 3, it's a relatively new game that came out earlier this year. I was considering giving Genshin another shot recently, but never got around to it because of just how much content was unavailable outside of watching YouTube videos of the many events I missed out on. Plus, there were so many characters out, with only a select few possible to get at a certain time, that I felt like I would forever be stuck behind everyone else. The benefit of playing Honkai now, in its early stages, is that I get to have a first-hand experience with all that time-exclusive content that I missed out in Genshin. And while the current roster for Honkai is mostly locked behind Gacha, it's nowhere near as big as Genshin's at the moment. Speaking of Honkai's roster of characters, reason number 4 was the waifus. Even I, Giga Chad Shiro, am not immune to the simping. I swear to God, the only reason I haven't spent a penny on this game is because Kafka isn't playable yet. The moment she is... But then again, I played Genshin around when it first came out, and yet it didn't hook me. So, what's this game all about? How does it manage to keep me playing when Genshin failed to do so? Let's take a ride on the Astro Express and find out. Honkai does a much better job than Genshin in terms of pacing for story and gameplay, and that's evident as soon as you first boot up the game. The intro segment has you temporarily control Kafka and your teammate Silverwolf as they break into an orbital station. They find this glowing orb called a Stellaron locked within the station, and then we select our player character who will serve as the host to contain the orb. To elaborate on what a Stellaron is, it's referred to as the cancer of all worlds. When there is a Stellaron present, the planet it's on starts to corrode. This corrosion of planets, known as the fragmentum, spawns dark matter that creates monsters which serve as the generic enemies in the game. The corrosion can get so severe that the first actual planet you get to explore is stuck in a state of perpetual winter. That's why it's crazy that one of those seeds of disaster is contained within your character. Not every game lets you play as what's essentially a nuclear bomb. Now, both versions of the MC are known as the Trailblazer in official material, with the male's canon name being Kalis and the female protagonist having the canon name Stell. You can name them whatever you want though. I picked the female and named her Shirona because that's the Japanese name for Cynthia from Pokemon. Fun little fact for you. Kafka and the Silverwolf just leave the Trailblazer behind after wiping their memories, and eventually they're found by 2 members of the Astro Express, March 7th, yes that's her name, and Dawn Hung. You get introduced to a lot of different characters and gameplay features in this first area, the Herta space station, until you reach the tutorial boss. What's cooler than a normal dragon? A fucking space dragon! And it's not too long after that boss fight when you hop on the Astro Express and head to the next planet. So yeah, Genshin crawled so Honkai could dash. But there's one issue with the game's pacing, and that's your Trailblazer rank. This motherfucker. There are multiple times where the player is locked out of progressing with the main story due to their Trailblazer rank not being high enough. You can increase your rank by doing all the various side activities Honkai has to offer. Now, It may be because of my playstyle as a newbie to Hoyoverse games, but at one point I just ran into a wall where I had done all the available quests and side content I could reasonably do, and still didn't have my rank high enough to continue the story. I had to wait until the next day to get a new daily quest to finally bump it up. I guess joke's on me for not wanting to pay Hoyoverse any money. On the other hand, during the waiting periods between story quests, there's some fun to be had exploring Honkai's universe. Not only are there a good number of side quests throughout the content currently available, but there's also just as many hidden quests and events you'll only discover through exploring. There's a ton of actually funny dialogue hidden behind examining a series of trash cans. There is trash can lore in Honkai Star Rail. This is peak fiction right here. Those side quests and hidden quests are good to do when your Trailblaze energy hits 0 and you're locked out of 90% of the content. Some people see their meter hitting 0 as a sign to start a new account and see what characters they get in the reroll. I see my meter hit 0 and decide to log off the game and do something else. The world building is pretty good. So far there are 3 main hubs to visit, and the lore for each goes pretty in depth. While there are textbooks of lore in the data bank if you're interested in reading it all, the amount of lore dropped in the story quests is pretty hefty, in a good way, of course. The lore certainly helps in providing visual variety to different locations within the same world. All these screenshots I'm showing on screen right now are from the first planet you explore in the game. Now, I must admit something. While I'm aware Genshin looks pretty, I thought it only looked as good as it did in videos when played on PC or consoles. I didn't think it would look that great on my iPhone. You know how mobile games have sponsors exaggerate stuff like Play Raid Shadow Legends. It's the biggest mobile RPG on the market because of the amazing visuals and the fun strategic gameplay. Playing Raid is guaranteed to get you laid, so get it for free today. To my honest surprise, Honkai Star Rail looks really good on mobile phones. And the frame rate runs smoothly both in and out of battles, which really shocked me. The issue with the mobile version, and this is a personal nitpick more than anything, is that I have a problem pressing precise buttons or options with my big thumbs. Right now, Honkai is only available to play on phones or PC. I would have played the PC version, but it's on the Epic Game Store. I use a Chromebook, so no Honkai on PC for me. Hopefully the wait isn't too long for a console release. Another thing I gotta praise is the OST. My original impression of the soundtrack was that it was good, but nothing too stand out. There were some chill tunes while walking around the safe zones, and the main battle theme was alright. None of the boss themes or big cutscene tracks were giving me the same level of hype that I got from Rivers in the Desert, Counterattack, or any boss theme in Metal Gear Rising. Then I got to the second boss, and when the lyrics kicked in, bro.
We made a choice, go fight against your fate. Pain will come with the blade.
General battle system is alright. If you played any of the turn-based RPGs I mentioned at the beginning of the video, then you know how battles go in Honkai. Each character belongs to a path, which is basically their class, and an element. Strike the elemental weakness of an enemy to break them, delaying their next opportunity to attack to let you deal extra damage to them. Limit Break Gauge also applies a certain status effect that does damage to an enemy at the start of their turn. And in the times you have to grind, you can turn on the auto battle feature to have the game play for you. I used this pretty much the entire time I was writing this script. Also cool side activities for battles, such as the roguelike simulated universe. If you're lucky and get the right setup, you don't even need to build your characters much to get through the hardest levels of that mode. And then there's the time challenge mode known as the Forgotten Hall, which is more of an introduction to the true endgame content for Honkai Star Rail, Memory of Chaos. Memory of Chaos is extremely difficult, so don't expect to clear it anytime soon. There's one big negative I have to list about the battles. This orb here next to your characters is the meter for their ultimate moves. Some heal the whole party, some are AoE attacks, some apply buffs, you get the idea. The meter fills up when a character uses their other moves or takes damage. However, be careful to select the ultimate when the meter is filled, because you can't deselect. As soon as you tap that orb, you're forced to use the ultimate whether or not you change your mind. So, Hoyoverse, if you're watching this, please give us the option to back out of using ultimates. Also, sponsor me pretty please, that'd be really cool. Honestly, the best part of getting into Honkai was just bonding with friends I already had who were playing the game, or making new friends from the community. As much as the Gacha player base gets clowned on by the rest of the internet for unjustified, although sometimes pretty justified reasons, there are numerous things to enjoy about Honkai and other games like it. What makes it even better is that the online community for Honkai is way more chill and respectful than the Genshin one. From what I've seen, there's a decent portion of the Genshin fan base that'll put you in the guillotine for saying anything negative on the game, whether it be story, quests, or God forbid you say something about one of the characters. On Star Rail, I haven't seen any of that toxicity in my experience. Everyone in the community I've met is kind and welcoming. I've had friends who were already well versed in gacha games help me learn the ropes, like how banners and pity works, and they're also there for me to brag to when I pulled the 5-star on the current banner. Okay, so the rest of the video before this was written with the context of version 1.0 alone. I held off on putting the video out until 1.1 was released and I could comment on the improvements it made. Now, as I'm recording this video, there is still content related to 1.1 that hasn't been released yet, such as a few companion quests, but from what I've seen so far, it's pretty good. Some new playable characters are going to be added. One of them, Silverwolf, has already been added. Honestly, the banners they're coming with, they're pretty subpar. I wasn't planning on pulling on either of them to begin with because I gotta save up for Kafka. The in-game events that came with this update were pretty cool. The Silverwolf quest and the missions where you can scan for stickers to boost follow-up attacks and debuff bosses was interesting.
You fool! I have 70 alternative accounts!
I like the museum management system and I'm glad this place will stay as an area to run around after the event is over. Overall, if the events for this first update are anything to go by, I think this game is going to stay fun for a long time. That's basically it for this video. I wanted to spend some time going over my proper introduction to Honkai and gacha games in general. I wasn't kidding in the title about going down the gacha rabbit hole, because holy shit, it goes on forever. Who knows, with how much I enjoyed Honkai, maybe I'll give Genshin another shot. But I'll wait until you look it's a rerun. I'm sure it won't be anytime soon. I mean, she hasn't had a new banner in almost 2 years. I don't think Holyoverse is in a rush. Oh, son of a bitch. Well, I'm a man of my word, so let's give that game a second chance. Anyway, thank you for coming to the Matsunoki Cafe and watching me reflect on my descent into madness. Please feel free to like and subscribe to ensure you do see future videos from this channel. Until next time, stay safe out there, everyone.